Oh, Wilson, come in, come in. My new toy has arrived. Rex, this, you probably won't get this, but this is something I've been waiting for quite some time.
Okay, what's over now?
Hold on, let me get the...
I'm really excited. What's that?
The Osmo Mobile 2! This is my noise. You won't be that excited by this, but I am. Oh, this is so good. Right. Let's get it charged up and have a play.
Hello, camera! Hi, camera! Hi, video camera! Camera! I'm over here! Hi! Hello!
So yes, the new toy has arrived. I will give it a full review once I've sussed out how to use it, but hopefully you'll see marked improvement in the quality of some of these videos. So did you see then the McLaren Amazon Series Grand Prix driver over the weekend, released on Friday? I watched it all 4 episodes, which I thought was a really, really brilliant insight into behind the scenes McLaren and behind the scenes Formula One. Poor old Rexy had an accident on Saturday, didn't you, mate? Big accident, massive tumble, fell over, smashed his face on the floor. Been so brave though, haven't you, mate? Getting better, but got a big fat lip to show for it. But anyway, the McLaren series I thought was really, really interesting. It had a really, you know, the access was unprecedented, because that's the sort of stuff that the Formula One teams just don't give away. That kind of access, they don't let anyone in, particularly in that key kind of period of time in the build up to a new season when the new car's being prepared, and particularly with McLaren going through what they went through with that tumultuous relationship with Honda, and all the kind of, I mean, not quite promises that they made, but all the high hopes they clearly openly had for the 2017 season, and to suffer such disappointment, I thought was really, really fascinating. So a few things that I will pick up and talk about, but just in general, fair play and congratulations to McLaren for not only making that happen, but for sticking with it when it became clear that 2017 was going to be such a difficult season. You found a ball, Wilson? You found a ball?
Yeah.
We found a tree. After the guy.
Stabbed yourself. Oh, a tree stabbed my head.
What was that, Mummy? He's a clever boy. I thought the series was really interesting, the way that it portrayed the relationship between McLaren and Honda, and it was very much them and us, wasn't it? Which I guess is completely understandable, because you know what McLaren went through with their relationship with Honda was pretty traumatic at times. They were, you know, lots of failed promises from Honda in what was going to be delivered by the Japanese manufacturer. You know, McLaren were working, you know, day and night and produced a chassis that was widely regarded as being one of the best. They had probably one of, if not the best driver in the world in the team, and yet they failed on the most monumental level to score championship points, podiums, race wins, and anywhere near championships. So the fact that the relationship broke down is no real surprise, but I thought it was interesting the way that the whole thing was edited to really kind of come down quite hard on Honda. There was no kind of we're one team winning and losing together by the time this series came out. This was very much McLaren did a great job, Honda let us down type situation. And I suppose, you know, some people will agree with that. McLaren fans will undoubtedly agree with that. I think, you know, to a large extent I agree with that, but I just thought it was quite interesting. You don't often get Formula One teams being that honest in the way that they portray things. Quite often there's a corporate line, which is the one that gets released over and above what they're really feeling. So I thought in that sense, I guess it was quite an honest portrayal. I'm still getting the hang of this toy, by the way, so I hope it looks alright. It keeps losing me. But look, I thought it's totally lost me. That's Ginger falling over in the sand. I thought one of the other things that was quite interesting for me was that they kind of glossed over, I didn't completely gloss over it, but they certainly didn't go into a huge amount of detail about the whole Ron Dennis saga, which was possibly the biggest story to hit McLaren really in its history, or certainly in its most modern history. Certainly the most significant change the company has been through in a long time, I'd have thought. But I guess there are plenty of reasons, and possibly even legal reasons, why that was the case. The other one, though, was that the fact that Jos Capito didn't feature in the series. Now, Jos Capito came in... Where have I gone? There I am, hello again. I'll get the hang of this before too long. Jos Capito came into McLaren late in 2016, around the Italian Grand Prix, but left again, or his departure was announced in February of 2017, so right in the midst of this pre-season filming. And he was a big appointment for McLaren, and when he left, you know, I know from lots of people within the team that actually that was a real big disappointment that he'd gone, because he came in with such big promise, and actually the people that were working in the factory, from what they saw of him in just a few months he was there, really gave them some hope that things were going to get better for them in terms of their working practices, in terms of the way things operate, in terms of the hierarchy within the team. And then to have him leave so abruptly was a real shame for lots of people, and you know, that was completely missed from the whole series, which I thought was a bit of a shame, I suppose. Whether it's a surprise or not, I don't really know, but yeah, it was interesting that he didn't come up at all. On a personal level, of course, it brought back a huge amount of memories for me, you know, good and bad memories. I've done lots of those pre-seasons that you saw in the series there, lots of those really kind of late nights, early mornings, dinners in the factory, parts turning up from different departments coming into the race bays and then not fitting or not working properly, trying to do engine fire-ups when a little bit of software code is this tiny one thing that just stops you firing the engine up, which is what you've been building up to for weeks. And you know, those things came flooding back to me, and I feel the pain of the guys that are involved in all of that. You know, it was so heartbreaking really to see the guys going through such a difficult time in that pre-season, when you know that it's so bad that they're pretty much facing that for the majority of 2017, and as it was, you know, that proved to be the case for most of it. But the sinking feeling you get when that car runs for the first time, or more to the case, doesn't run because it has various reliability issues and problems. The sinking feeling you get as a mechanic or engineer when all of your hopes have been pinned on the thing working and the driver getting out on the track and getting his first initial feedback. Because a driver, as well as the engineers of course, will know pretty early on whether there's a good platform to build from, whether it feels good, whether all the data and the numbers are all good, whether it responds easily to mechanical changes. So all of those kind of things are little pointers you're looking for when you first run a car. And to see the guys going through that those first few days of 2017, when the thing would barely turn a wheel anyway, and when it did it was slow and difficult to drive, it's just a heartbreaking feeling. I thought it was really interesting in the final episode when the team were, Jonathan Neal was gathering the team around in the factory for a sort of big debrief after those first few days of the season, when they were talking about having to make changes. And actually in that whole sequence that was shot, or that whole sequence that made the final cut of the programme, I think Jonathan Neal only delivered something like 3 or 4 lines to the team. Now those briefings, those gatherings are probably going to be at least half an hour, 45 minutes long from my experience. which means there's an awful lot of that didn't make the final cut, that was edited out. And I'd love to know, I'd love to have been in the edit room and see what ended up on the cutting room floor with that sequence. And that was just a McLaren only briefing. And I can imagine that Jonathan, Neil and co were getting pretty brutally honest with their own workforce there. And yet probably so brutally honest it could never even be put into the final cut of the film. So I thought that was quite amusing. And it, as I said before, it breaks my heart to see the company and the team that I genuinely love and have worked for so long for going through such difficult times. And I just hope that this move to Renault, you know, kind of catapults them up the grid, back to where they really deserve to be. Lots of the people within that team, lots of people have never experienced a race win. Certainly never experienced, you know, winning a championship. Lots of them have never even experienced being on the podium. And it really changes the mindset of the people working at that team if you've never tasted any form of success. It was very limited in what coverage it had from actual pre-season testing, and there might be a number of different reasons for that, but those first days were so difficult. But we only got real tiny snippets, I suppose, of what was happening there. And I know, particularly through the season as well, you can't show the race footage, you can't show the cars out on track, but I thought it would have been really interesting to see some of that as you go through the season, just behind the scenes, even from outside of the circuit, if those restrictions were in the way. What it was like back at the team's factory during the season, how they were responding to different race situations. And we missed some of that, I suppose, so I thought it definitely could have gone further. And 4 half-an-hour episodes definitely could have been 4-hour-long shows. I don't think that would have struggled for content there. How cool is the MTC, by the way? What a beautiful, picturesque factory that is, especially with drone shots flying over the top of the lake. Really amazing place, stunning building. If you want to know a bit more about what it's like to be in there, what it's like to work in there, I did write an entire chapter on what it's like to be inside the MTC in my book, The Mechanic. If you haven't read that yet, I haven't bought it, then I'll put a link in the description as well, so you can go and get hold of that, because there's some really detailed descriptions of what it was like when the MTC was being built, when we moved from the old factory into the new one, and what it was like then to work in that place once it came on stream. It really is the house that Ron built. I'd love to know, of course, what you think, as ever. Grand Prix Driver is the title, by the way. Strange title, would you say? Didn't seem like the title encapsulated the entire series for me. It wasn't just about a Grand Prix driver. Didn't quite get why they called it that. But anyway, I thought it was really good. I loved it. I hope you did too. But please drop me a line. Let me know in the comments what you thought. What you'd like to have seen more of or less of. And if this is something that is going to be a new thing for Formula One teams, who else would you like to see this happen for? And if they do that, what would you like to see them do with it? Would you like to see them go a little bit further or do something a little bit different? Let me know. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, please, and share it around with your mates. And I'll see you next time.